getting 2 thumbs up. We met the match last hour. Oh, wow. That's exciting. That was an exciting last few minutes. We just didn't know if it was all going to come together. But thank you so much for helping us. We are at the exact middle. At this moment, we are at the exact middle of our final pledge drive of the year. The way we are funded here at Catholic Answers Live is we ask you to fund the program for the next 3 months. It's worked for almost 30 years, so we've come to rely on you. We've really come to think, wow, there's a lot of really good people out there, and they're gonna if we tell them what we need, they're gonna help us out. Well, what we need this hour, we got to raise $25,000 again, and then tomorrow we'll have different goals for the final day. But we said if we could reach $25,000 each hour today, we're on the trajectory. We can see the path to raising the full $200,000 that we need for the next 3 months. So we're coming at you a little early this time. Usually we're closer to Thanksgiving. We try to get you in the holiday mood before we ask you for money, but right now we had to come to you early this year. So this will actually be almost 4 months that will go before we come back to you again, because we'll be all the way in February before we come to you again. So if you can help us, let me explain where we are. We're going to have Joe Heschmeyer with us this hour, just as we promised. Joe will answer lots of questions. We're not going to waste any more time than we have to on fundraising. I shouldn't say waste, but we're not going to spend any more time than we have to on fundraising. But with $25,000 to raise, here's how you can help. You can pick up the phone and call 888-291-8000 and make a pledge of support. $50 or more is matched. Every dollar of it is matched. A $50 gift or more is matched. Now we have a second donor who said $500 or more, I'll match it a second time, trying to help us kind of get out there and pull in the net some of those larger donations. So that's where we are right now. We've got $25,000 to raise this hour. We've got 57 minutes left to do it. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 888-291-8000 and get those matches. Or you can go safe and secure online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. That goes to the same place. The same matches will be applied. Or if you're one of those texters, just text the word Catholic to 24365. How often do we love Jesus? 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's why just text the word Catholic to 24365. Now, before I bring Joe in, I'm going to say one other thing. We've got some gifts for you. So if you do come in at that $50 level, then we'd like to send you a couple gifts. One of them is Why We're Catholic, the beautiful and justifiably very popular book by Trent Horn. And the other is a new book we have from Steve Dawson. I had the privilege of co-writing it with him. I'm like his junior partner on it. How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone. If you can come in at the $50 level right now, every dollar will be matched, and we'll send you those 2 books. How about that? We got 0 callers on. We met the match for the last hour. Great time to call. With 13 of our colleagues waiting to take your calls, it's a perfect time to call 888-291-8000. How about if you can do the $500? Well, we'll give you all that I just said. You'll get all the matches I just mentioned, but we're going to add the Ignatius Catholic Study Bible, Old and New Testaments both. You get them both. All under one cover, magnificent hardcover Bible, 888-291-8000. I want to introduce Joe, but I don't want to stop talking until somebody calls. We got 0 calls so far. I don't want to make you feel bad, but I think I might I'll bring Joe in. All right, I'll bring Joe in. 14 lines open. Watch, as soon as he asks for a call will come. This is how it works around here. Joe Heschmeyer, welcome.
Look, extra bonus. Right now, if you call in, it'll also get Size Goat because he tried for a very long time to get some calls. So if you want to get all the aforementioned gifts and help the mission of Catholic Answers and, needle Sai a little bit, which I get to do as my full-time job. I think that's what I was hired to do. It's a great opportunity. Totally free bonus.
888-291-8000 is the number to call. 888-291-8000. I'll tell you what. All right. If you... There it is, the first call. All right. You waited for Joe. No, it doesn't hurt like bad, but it just stings a little bit. Ask them
if they want a book about Peter or a book about
No,
Jesus.
We're not doing that. You get a book about Why We're Catholic, and you get a book, How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone. You get both of those books if you come in at $50 right now, and you get all your money matched. 888-291-8000. Look at that, 3 calls on the line now. Let's fill up those lines. 888-291-8000. Joe, joining us this hour, a remarkable person that have been delighted has become part of the Catholic Answers family. She's kind of the baby of the family, I think. Emily Torres is here with us, and she's going to share some testimonies. Emily, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Cy.
You say the phone number, and we'll see if anybody calls. Let's see how that goes.
888-291-8000.
Oh my gosh!
Please call in.
It shot up to 7
Let
calls.
them know that the baby is boss around here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, look at that. 7 calls on now. All of a sudden, 888-291-8000. I'll tell you what, Emily, I'm going to let you help us out this hour by sharing testimonies and helping us raise money. But I feel like if people are going to pick up the phone and call, now that we've asked them and they did pick up the phone and call, let's reward some folks. Look at 9 calls on now. Just 5 lines open. 888-291-8000. Look, what people listen to, it's not you and me, Emily. It's Joe. So how about we make Joe answer a call? All right, let's go to Charlie in North Carolina, watching on YouTube. Charlie, my goodness, I think you waited through most of the last hour. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead with your question for Joe.
Oh, of course, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to.
So my question is, do papal documents like, sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, quanto, confusumor, and unam sanctum mean that holy men like Protestant pastors or Orthodox priests or imams are going to hell? And the same question would apply to those that study the Catholic Church but still reject it, even if they choose to be Christian but not Catholic. And I'm specifically thinking about, of course, the last line on unam sanctum, and then point number 8 in quanto confusumor. It's the 1863. I think it's an encyclical from Pius XI.
Wonderful. So no, I mean, by definition, they're not condemning holy men to hell because, definitionally,
Well,
someone who's holy.
By holy men, I meant like people that like
devout,
really
right.
well, and
Mm-hmm.
yes, that's.
Okay, great. So it's a complicated situation. Let's start with this. When Jesus Christ comes into the world, he says to follow him. He says that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one comes to the Father except through him. But he also creates a church, and this church is called the Way. So the church isn't viewed as like an optional part of salvation in the New Testament. The church is the Way. And in 1 Timothy 3:15, it's called the house of the living God. And so someone who consciously rejects Christ, someone who consciously rejects the way, the truth, and the life, the only way to the Father, is cutting themselves off from salvation. But there's a really important word that I use there, which is consciously. So Jesus is able to pray on the cross, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And remember, you were talking about like the devout, the leaders and all that. Well, some of the people Jesus is praying for were the leaders of his day. And Peter in Acts is able to say that they wouldn't have crucified Jesus if they had known more. And there are actually several places in the New Testament that point to this. So the example I would give is this. Rejecting the Trinity is something Christians have for a very long time been largely united on, that the Trinity is an essential doctrine that if you reject it, it endangers your salvation. Well, that doesn't mean, I've got a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Whatever their theology of the Trinity is, I have a strong suspicion they're heretics. But they're not formal heretics. They're what's called material heretics. They believe things that are wrong. But believing things that are wrong isn't the same as the kind of heresy we're talking about. Because the kind of heresy we're talking about is willfully refusing the truth, choosing your own pride over listening, choosing, the path of I think I know best, and cutting yourself off from God, cutting yourself off from Jesus, cutting yourself off from the body of Christ because you think you know better than he does. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. So is there something gravely wrong when someone rejects Jesus or rejects the fullness of Jesus and the church? Ephesians 1 refers to the church as the fullness of him. Yeah, there is something gravely wrong with that. Does that mean everyone who does that is automatically damned? It doesn't. Because God alone knows how willingly and knowingly that kind of action happens. And the level of willingness and knowledge in God's eyes isn't going to be the same measure as in man's eyes. That God looks on the inside and man looks on the outside. So we would look at the people who put Jesus to death and say, they didn't know what they were doing. the Romans were experts in crucifixions. The scribes and Pharisees were leaders of Jewish law. They knew this stuff really well. But in the eyes of God, he can still say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. So if you're someone who is tempted to reject the Catholic Church, I would say don't, and that doing so could imperil your salvation. But also, I don't think we should give up hope immediately for someone, the devout Methodist grandma, for example. We're not saying she is certainly in hell. That is not Catholic teaching. And when Father Feeney in the early 20th century tried to present church teaching in that light, he actually got excommunicated for it, because that's just not how these terms and these documents should be understood.
Thank you very much for the call. I hope the answer was helpful to you. As I said, we're going to try to let Joe do his job as much as we can. After Emily asked folks to call, almost all the lines filled up. We had a wonderful response, but now 14 lines are open. And I'm going to ask Emily Torres to share with us some of the testimonies that people have given so that you know what your money is going towards. But I'll let you know this. We've got 15 of our colleagues ready to take your call, and 14 of them are available right now. Only one call on the line. After a nice little burst to get us started, we've got $25,000 to raise this hour. If you think, well, $25,000 an hour, that's quite doable. I would imagine that's quite doable. Hundreds of radio stations, thousands of. You're right, it is quite doable, but we need your help to do it. So while Emily shares with us some of the testimonies, would you pick up the phone and call 888-291-8000? We've got gifts to give you at the various levels. Ask about those. But I want to mention the match before I let Emily get in here and share those testimonies. At $50 or more, everything you give is matched, dollar for dollar. Everybody. Up to, I think there's still $100,000 available to us in this from a couple of donors who make that possible. But if you go 500 or more, there's a second donor who will match you again to try to help us get those larger donations. So let's fill up those 14 lines right now, and we'll hear from Emily Torres on what some people are saying about what your support of Catholic Answers has meant to them. 888-291-8000 or text Catholic to 24365. Emily, what do people say about Catholic Answers?
So I received this story from Chris, and it was very beautiful. So I want to share it with all of you guys. He wrote to us, I started listening to Catholic Answers Live in August of 2018 after attending my first retreat at age 53. I listened daily, read Catholic Answers books, visited the website constantly, and built a large theological library. Catholic Answers inspired me to pursue a master's of theology. Soon after, I left a 30-year corporate career to work for my parish. About 2.5 years ago, I joined an organization where I now respond to faith questions from around the world, often sharing Catholic Answers resources. Catholic Answers has been the single greatest influence in my journey, leading me to deeper study, ministry, and a closer relationship with God.
That's what it's all about. That's why we do this. What a beautiful story. Yeah. And you said Chris shared that with you. That's in your capacity. Why did Chris share that with you?
So I believe he emailed this in to someone and they sent it to me. My role here is to collect these testimonials from the groundwork. So so he sent that into us, and it was very moving just to see the work that we're doing that's like radiating out. It's not ending with just Chris, like Chris is changing lives now, and that's a ripple effect that's being created just from one soul that encountered our resources.
But I assume Chris found what we all find when we get closer to the Catholic faith is this deeply reasonable system, this deeply reasonable way of understanding the world, that when you do understand it, you realize life is good and God is so good, and there's reason for joy and hope and all of this that and not just reason for joy and hope, but there is joy and hope in the sacraments and in the community of the church. And for the one thing that the modern world is missing so much, and I wish if we could give anything to young people today, it would be the gift that Christ gives, his peace. That the world is hungry for peace. So I think Chris found that, and that's all we're trying to do is help other people to find that. Can you help us do that? 888-291-8000 is the number to call. I know you've got a bunch more of those to share with us, Emily, and I hope you'll continue to do that throughout the hour. Also text the word Catholic to 24365. We've got $25,000 to raise this hour. You know what? If we asked you for money every day and said this is how much we need to put the show on, it wouldn't be these large numbers. But we only ask you every 3 or 4 months. This time it's really going to be 4 months before we'll ask you again. And $25,000 this hour will give us days and days of broadcasting in the coming 4 months. If we can reach the full 200,000 that we're trying to raise, we'll be in great shape. 888-291-8000. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it in your hands. There's 12 lines open. There's 3 people on the line. But I'm going to just trust the listener that the people are going to call, and I'm going to let Joe answer another question, because that's what we're here to do anyways. We'll answer questions. And look at that. As I said, that a call came in. 11 lines open. Could you do that $50? Could you do 100 or 200 or 250? All of it matched dollar for dollar right now. Now just 10 lines open. Maybe you could do 500 or more. Maybe you're one of those people that can do 1,000 or 2,000. We have people that can give 5,000. If that's you, all of that will be matched twice. 888-291-8000. Bill in Oklahoma, listening on St. Michael Radio. Hi, Bill.
Hello, Cy. How are you doing?
I'm good. Am I in trouble with you?
No, you're not. You never have been.
Okay.
You've been wonderful. I wanted to let you know I just finished the book that you co-authored.
Oh, How to Talk
great
About
book.
Jesus with Anyone. Yeah, thank you, Bill.
Yes. Fantastic book. You guys did a great job, and it's been very helpful to me in my evangelization efforts
Praise
here in
God.
Oklahoma.
The reason I asked if I was in trouble with you, Bill, is that last hour, Chris Check said to me, have you ever disappointed anyone on the air? And I said, maybe Bill in Oklahoma. I don't know if you...
No, you have not.
I don't know if you heard me say it.
In fact,
Okay.
I did hear you say that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, I did, but no, you didn't. You've never disappointed me. All you did was clarify the position. That's all.
Okay. All right. Very good.
So you did a great job. But my question for Joe is this. I know recently there was a statement issued regarding, I believe it was a correction in the understanding of Mary as co-redemptress. And I was wondering if he could explain what that is. And also, I was going to ask you, Cy, is there a book that you would recommend that I get in my evangelization efforts that would basically address the situation is here is why I'm a Catholic, and here is why I feel like that once you understand this, you would know that this is the church that Christ founded, and you will receive the fullness of what he intended for his church to be.
All right, I'll tell you what, I'll think on that. Well, Joe gives you an answer to the Marian question, Bill. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Cy.
Sure.
All right, Bill. So the document you're referring to is called Mater Populi Fidelis, the mother of the faithful people. And it's a reflection on Mary's role. It's a reflection on this question. What is the meaning of Mary's unique cooperation in the plan of salvation? And then it's further clarifying, how do we properly express Christ's sole mediation? That there's one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus Christ. And at the same time that Mary has this special role she plays in the work of salvation. So if you think about it, Jesus offers his flesh for the life of the world. Where does that flesh come from? Well, the incarnation, when Mary says yes to the angel Gabriel. And Mary's fiat, Mary's yes, actually gives something that contributes to the salvation of the world. You and I can't say that. We've received from Christ, and we can help spread the good news and hopefully lead people into that salvation, but we didn't contribute anything to it when it happened. Mary actually does. And she does by offering her son as well. For instance, at the wedding feast of Cana, she helps to launch his public ministry when she, asks for a miracle and he says that his hour has not yet come. And when she insists, he acquiesces and then begins his public ministry, knowing it'll go to the cross. And so in light of that, there have been Catholics throughout the ages who've used a wide variety of titles for Mary. And so this is a Vatican note basically expressing a note of caution about certain terms that are more likely to cause confusion than clarity. specifically calling Mary mediatrix of all graces. It points out that's not even strictly speaking correct, that the graces Mary receives, she's not a mediatrix of, for instance, and that the way grace works isn't like God wants to come and dwell in your heart, but he's going to go through Mary first and then go to your heart. So theologically, it's a very confusing kind of statement. And then co-redemptrix just sounds heretical, even though it's not meant to be. That there are orthodox understandings. There's a proper understanding of all of these things. So none of the truth of what those terms are trying to express has been, rebuked or repudiated or anything like that. But instead, there's sort of a note of caution. And one particular line and this was, by the way, this was also the position then Cardinal Ratzinger had, even prior to becoming Benedict XVI, that these are not helpful terms, that they're more likely to cause confusion and not likely to lead to greater clarity about Mary's actual role. But there's a line that I like from the document that just came out, where it says, when an expression requires many repeated explanations to prevent it from straying from a correct meaning, it does not serve the faith of the people of God and becomes unhelpful. Like, if you come up with an analogy or a term or something like that, and your meaning for it is completely orthodox, but 9 times out of 10, when somebody hears it, they think you mean something heretical, you find another way of saying that. Like, even if you're not guilty of heresy, but you are leading people into some confusion by sort of imprecise language or an unhelpful kind of example. So that's all that happened. Like, the church believes about Mary the exact same things today that were believed yesterday. I think the document is extremely helpful in clarifying what those things are and are not. But this is helping to clarify maybe some of the common language so that less educated Christians aren't brought into a state where they think they're supposed to have a wrong view of Mary or think that Catholics have a wrong view of Mary.
Bill, you wanted a book for convincing people that of the richness of the Catholic faith, of what they will receive in the Catholic faith. And there was probably a whole bunch of those, like, why be a Catholic? And I'd say there's probably different ways to approach that. One would be with Protestant people. One might be with unbelievers. Like, give your evidence of why you believe or why you are Catholic. And that's Steve Dawson's idea, is that we ultimately need to give a testimony of our reason. Why am I a Catholic? Why can I give you one good reason why I'm Catholic? That's ultimately the question that you'd like to answer for somebody. I think Why We're Catholic is a very fine book. If you don't have it, I'll send it to you. And if you do have Why We're Catholic already, I think Joe's book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, might be one.
Honestly, Sly, I was going to say your book, and I think you're being too humble.
Which
but
book?
If it's about how to talk to people about these things, I think your book would be a great choice.
Oh, but he just read it. He's saying he.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, never mind. I take it back.
But why am I talking you out of this? Yeah, my book is the best book. Joe is correct about that. How to talk about Jesus with anyone. But let me send you either Why We're Catholic or Joe's book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church. You tell him which one you want, and we will send it off to you. We got to take a break in a minute. And before we do, I'd like to go back to Emily Torres and ask, you got any more testimonies that you can share?
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you to do that as soon as I give out the phone number, because I would be remiss if I don't. Hey, we've got a giant match. If you give $50 or more, 100% of it is matched. 888-291-8000. We've got a second giant match. If you give $500 or more, it'll be matched a second time. 888-291-8000 or text Catholic to 24365.
All right. So on the note of Why We're Catholic, one of our followers, Michael, DM Trent Horn and told him, your book, Why We're Catholic, was actually suggested and given to me. Still probably crazy for you to hear, but you helped me find the church. And then another one of our followers, Logan, he said, I was able to read The Eucharist Really Is Jesus by Joe Heschmeyer, and it got me exploring what the early church believed and taught. I've come to accept that Jesus truly is present in the Eucharist and have been attending Mass as much as I can. I started RCIA in September. So that's the amazing work we're doing. Our apologists like Joe are doing. It's so wonderful.
That is, and you should have seen Joe's face when you read that part. You can see why he does this work. That makes him happy. All right, I'll tell you what. I do want to speak to those who can make the larger donations now, because the lines have stayed quite full this hour. But we still have quite a ways to go because the donations have not been filling up the coffers. They've been getting us started. So what I'm saying is folks who are willing to make a small monthly donation or a mid-level donation have been calling. But if you can, this is a perfect time, as a matter of fact. We're going to the break. You can have a couple minutes on the phone with the person, or you can just go do it yourself at CatholicAnswersRadio.com. And if you can make those larger donations, $500, $1,000, maybe you could do $1,000 or $2,000. We'll come back and we'll see where we are. I think we'll be a lot closer. Because right now, if I told you the number, you'd say, wow, they're a long way from reaching their goal. So let me give you a big number when we come back. Dial that phone, 888-291-8000, or text the word Catholic to 24365.
Catholic Answers Live would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners in airing our daily program. Please support the stations and networks that carry us each day, ensuring that we have a platform for broadcasting the show. And please bear in mind that while we don't have to pay for airtime on our affiliate stations, neither do they contribute to the operating costs we incur. It's a great relationship, but it requires that we turn to you, our devoted listeners, for your prayers and financial support to cover our ever-growing expenses. Please call 888-291-8000 right now and help to keep Catholic Answers Live strong. That's 888-291-8000. Or you can donate securely online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com. What began as a humble one-hour daily show that was carried by 4 stations has, with the generosity of many fantastic people like you, blossomed into a 2-hour broadcast heard on hundreds of AM and FM stations, the internet, Sirius XM radio, Facebook, YouTube, and via podcast. We don't make that possible. You do. We simply cannot continue this media mission without your most generous gift today. Call 888-291-8000 or log on to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and donate now. People tell us all the time how much they depend on Catholic Answers Live to help them better learn, live, and share their faith. What they're really saying is they depend on you for that. Will you come through for them right now? It only takes a couple of minutes to make a huge difference at 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Again, 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. No matter how much you give, be assured of our gratitude and know that God will richly bless you. Phone 888-291-8000 or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. It's important that you take this important step right now, today, to make sure that Catholic Answers Live is here tomorrow and for years to come. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Eight 888-318-7884, our number. If you have a question for Joe Heschmeyer, you're welcome to call that number, but I won't be giving it out a lot because we have another number to give out. Joe Heschmeyer, our guest, it's Ask Me Anything. You can ask him whatever you want, and anybody can call, whether Catholic or not, whether you're in a good mood or a bad mood. We don't care. We love talking about Jesus. We love talking about the church. You are welcome to call. Interspersed with all of that, we will be asking you for your support for this program. It costs us about $200,000 for each quarter, and we're trying to be fully funded for the next quarter. You can donate crypto, I've just been told. You can go to Catholic.com/crypto. If you have crypto, first of all, he's a charming little dog. Go ahead and donate him. We'll take good care of him. But I think they mean the other kind of crypto. So if you've got some...
I think the generation gap between the people who understand those two references is a Venn diagram that's just two separate
That's not
circles.
overlapping. All right, go to Catholic.com/crypto if you want to give crypto. Daniel from good old Nebraska, that's what he said. Good old Nebraska gave $500 and paid the fees. Thank you so much. Richard in Washington donated $1,000 and also paid the fees. Mitchell in Garden City, Texas gave $1,500. Kathy from Ohio gave $1,000 plus fees. These have been last hour and this hour. I've been a while since I've been thanking people, but Judy in Illinois, thank you so much for paying the fees on that $500. Look, every single one of those, their donation was tripled. 888-291-8000 is the number to call. And I don't want to waste the incredible talents of Emily Torres, who we've got here with us. She's been sharing testimonies with us, but you could encourage people to give. I'm going to tell you where we are. We need to raise $25,000 this hour, and we are currently needing $20,000 to fill that all the way up. So go ahead. Can you raise $20,000
you
right now,
guys,
Emily?
Please, my job, my life is depending on this right now.
No,
Cy
it's not.
Kellett is holding
Mean.
me. I'm just kidding. But you guys, we do amazing work here. I'm sure the people that are tuning into this, they know the work that we're doing. But really, I'm on the other side of things where I'm getting to hear from our donors, and they're telling. I get the blessing of looking through all of our comments in our social media pages, which come with some really crazy comments, but also some really beautiful ones. So this is an example. Jennifer, she commented on one of our pages, as someone who was just in the last 24 hours realized my error in being against the Catholic Church and have realized they are the church Christ left behind. I would like to say thank you for refuting the Protestant claims, because the Catholic Church and its ways actually make logical sense. And it all started because the answer to John 6 verse 53 from Catholic.com made perfect sense. I struggled with this verse all of my life, but then for the first time ever, I read the article last evening and was completely gobsmacked because
Wow.
it made sense.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's amazing.
All right. So where do people give if they want to
So
support that?
888-291-8000, call the number. But if you're like me and you don't like talking to strangers on the phone because you're a Gen Zer,
Your
then
job is to
then
talk to people
I
on the
know,
phone.
I know. I have to get out of my bubble. You text Catholic to 24365 because we love Jesus.
24 hours a day.
365 days a year. Do it.
They got 11 lines open. I want to let Joe do his regular job. What do you think of Emily and I? We're doing pretty well together, don't
I
you
think you guys are doing great.
Thank you.
I have this nagging down in the back of my mind that people are going to be worried about whether we can still love God on Leap Day. But you know
Oh,
what?
shoot. You're right.
You're a very
Forgot the
precise
quarter.
theologian, Joe, and a lawyer.
24, 365, 25, whatever. Like it gets too complicated once you do the full fraction.
888-291-8000. Could we fill up those lines? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to go to the phones, and I'm going to trust you again. But we've got only 2 calls on right now. 11 of our colleagues waiting. 8, and I will just say this only because it's true. We try to just tell you what we need. Lots and lots of people have been calling with smaller and mid-level donations, and it's keeping us going for this hour. But for those larger donations, very few this hour. So if you're especially blessed and you can make one of those larger donations, and I'm talking about maybe 500, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,500.
If you're a person who says wealthy instead of rich, we could really use you calling in right now.
You think you're helping, Joe?
Maybe.
888-291-8000. Logan is in Huntington Beach, California. Hang on, Logan. Let me give the number one more time. 888-291-8000. Welcome, Logan. You got a question for Joe?
Hi, I did.
Oh, Logan, you're breaking up, buddy. Can you get right into the phone? Or I'm not sure why you're breaking up, and I know you've been waiting. I'm
Hello?
not. Yeah, go ahead. You got a question for Joe?
Oh, you can hear me?
Very good now. Very
yeah,
clear.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I had a question about the prophecy in Hosea chapter 3, verses 3 to 4, I think. Let me pull it up real quick. He says, "For the Israelites will live many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred stones, or household gods. Afterward, the Israelites will return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. They will come trembling to the Lord and his blessings in the last days." So my question about that is, when he says Israelites, is he talking about in the way that Paul uses it, as in like, because I was under the impression that we are the Israelites, but then the prophecy can't make sense because we do, obviously worship Jesus and have a king, and we do make sacrifices. So is that talking about the ethnic Jews, or is it talking about, or the ethnic Israelites, I guess?
Joe?
Great question. It's talking about the kingdom of Israel. So the context of this is 8th century BC. So if you go back to Hosea chapter 1, it mentions that it's happening in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. The word of the Lord that came to Hosea, the son of Bereah, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. So you have the divided kingdom between Judah in the south. That's where the term Jew comes from, and Israel in the north. And this is the 10 northern tribes. So the divided kingdom, this is the period. And they're about to all go into captivity. So in 722, the northern kingdom, which was called Israel, is kind of the forerunner to Samaria, is destroyed, and then Jerusalem is taken in the south in Judah, like 21 years later. So this is a prophecy about how they've strayed from God and how they're going to be brought low for a while. They're not going to have sacrifice or pillar, ephod or teraphim, but that they will return. And they will return to their land. They will return to the Davidic line. And we recognize in that the way this is fulfilled is in the birth of Christ, that he is the son of David, and that this is the restoration of that line. So these are all of these promises that the Assyrian captivity was not going to be the end of the story. So all of that has already come true.
And I had to leave it there. I hope that was helpful to you because we do have to, between calls, raise a little bit of money. Joe Heschmeyer is our guest. It's Ask Me Anything today. Right now, we're struggling a little bit to reach our goal.
Can I say something to people listening right now?
Please, Joe.
I don't know if you've noticed this from several of the calls. There are a lot of young listeners and young callers. And that's something we don't take for granted because this is an age cohort that is bombarded with all sorts of insanity and filth and heresy and worse. And to have a voice of sanity, to have a voice proclaiming the truth, pointing them towards the way, the truth, and the life is so badly needed. And I know a lot of people listening right now are more my age or older. I'm 40. And it's easy to think, man, things are looking pretty bleak for the generations below us. And to feel a little helpless, to feel overwhelmed, to feel anxious, to feel angry. But here we are actually doing things. And you know what? We're actually doing things that are working. Because there are a lot of people who are trying to do things and not getting any kind of traction. I don't mean to denigrate that at all. God bless them for all of the effort they're putting into it. This is a hard nut to crack. And by the grace of God, Catholic Answers, for whatever reason, has managed to reach so many younger people. But here's the other thing about young people. They don't have a lot of money. And we don't ask them to pay us to teach them about Jesus. So if you're someone who's already Catholic and you're someone who maybe you're a little more established, you've got a house, or at least your finances are not frightening every time you open your banking app, then this might be your call to help, if not for our sake, for the sake of all the young callers you've heard in the last couple hours, the last few days, the last few months, whatever it is, who you want to help contribute to their faith and to their growth as well.
You can do that by picking up the phone and calling 888-291-8000. We have other donors who do have money, and they're willing to match your pledge. Any pledge, $50 or more, is going to be matched. So let me reset all of that for you and let you, because we've just got 20 minutes left to the top of the hour, and we've got $20,000 to raise. That would mean $1,000 a minute to the top of the hour. Has that ever happened before? Yes, we have seen that happen before. We have seen $1,000 a minute. It would take 20 people who have $1,000 or 40 people who have $500 to just say, I'll do it, and pick up the phone and call. So let me tell you the situation, and then we'll just go back to letting Joe answer the phones, because that's what we want to do. We'll leave this in your hands. But if you are especially blessed, then you can make that larger donation, 888-291-8000. Everybody is calling. We got lots of people calling. We just have not gotten those larger donations that usually round out the hour for us this hour. So maybe you could do 5,000. I don't know. Maybe you could. Maybe you could do 2,000 or 1,000 or 500. All of that will be tripled. We've still got $100,000 of match money left. 888-291-8000. All right, here's how it works. If you come in and make a pledge of $50 or more, it's going to be matched for everybody. $50 or more, everybody's money gets matched because we have donors who have given the money to allow for that match. At $500 or more, there's a second match. We have a second person who will match your pledge, $500 or more. So you give $500, it's $1,500 to us instantly. You give $1,000, it's $3,000 to us instantly. With $100,000 of pledge money left, if you give $5,000, it's $15,000 to us instantly. 888 888-291-8000. Let me tell you the other side of that. We're able to give you some gifts. We have the books, our own books, and we have from our good friends at Ignatius Press, we have the Bible to give you. So let me tell you that. If you call 888-291-8000, if you go safe and secure online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com, or if you text the word Catholic to 24365, you will, at the $50 level, get 2 books. How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone. And that's a great one to have as the holidays are coming up. If there's even one person you'd like to, it really is helpful. Steve Dawson's advice, it's not like, well, be a better person and live better. It's not crazy, general advice. It's very specific stuff about how you can do it effectively. We'll give you that, and we'll give you why we're Catholic. $50 or more. Those are your gifts. If you can come in at that $500 or more level, we'll add the Ignatius Study Bible, hard copy, a beautiful Bible. You can leave it out in your home, and you can study it all you want because it's got the Old and the New Testament and all the commentary, the Ignatius Study Bible. While I've been speaking, the phones have not moved at all. Not one call has come in. So I'm going to ask Emily to give the numbers out because people like her better than me. And then I'm going to let Joe answer a question, and we'll leave it in your hands. We've got to raise $1,000 a minute for the next 18 minutes. That's what we've got left in order to reach our $25,000 goal for this hour. Emily, take it. You got a minute.
This. We have 12 lines open. I want to see them full. 888-291-8000 or text the word Catholic to 24365. Let's do it. 888-291-8000.
Oh, look at that. A call came. I couldn't get one call.
Let's go, you guys.
She spoke 15 seconds. I'm going to quit my job. Why do they even have me here? All right, let's go to Janelle in Florida. Janelle, thank you so much for your call. Go ahead with your question for Joe.
Hi. I just want to say I really appreciate what you guys do at Catholic Answers. I've actually been using your website since I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Because a Catholic school teacher recommended it to me, and I grew up Catholic, but I took a long time to learn more about my faith. So your guys' resources were really helpful.
Thank you for that.
My question is, because we can pray for the dead and God is outside of time, can we pray for Judas? And is there any point in doing so? Does it have any effect?
It's a good question. There's a lot of layers to the question because part of it is about praying for those who've already died. We can say this, those who are in hell are not going to come out of hell because of our prayers. Our prayers, for things we don't know about, can still be efficacious in a mysterious sense, seemingly somehow. And this is an issue that is debated by theologians, but the basic idea is this. Because, as you say, God is outside of time, he can foreknow that we were going to pray for a thing. So the classic example is you apply to a college, you get the letter from the college, you say a prayer before you open it. Now, obviously, the decision to accept or reject you has already, it's done. It's in the mail. It's in your hands. And you don't expect that your prayer is going to change the words on the sheet of paper. But you do hope, and I think reasonably expect, that God will be merciful to you in light of the prayers that he knows you're going to pray from, our perspective of temporality. So it's not about changing the past, but he can foresee the prayers that are going to be offered. And there's actually some beautiful reflections on this in terms of Jesus in the garden. In the particular case of Judas, I think there's a few problems. One of them is that Jesus describes him as the son of perdition and seems to say that he's been lost. Additionally, in Acts 1, St. Peter talks about how he went to his own place, and it certainly doesn't seem like that is a place we want to go to. And I should stress that, Jesus loves him. It's not like... So what I mean to suggest is, I think the available evidence suggests Judas is not in heaven, to the extent that we could say that about anyone. Judas seems to be the candidate we could most say that about. And it's not because Jesus didn't love him. He can call him friend in an authentic way, and yet Judas says no to that. And even when he regrets the evil that he does, he doesn't turn back to the mercy of Christ. He instead turns against himself in the most extreme manner. So there are people who who do pray for Judas. I don't think any harm is being done from it, but I don't think you can say that, this is going to somehow change the outcome of Judas's life, because we've seen, I think, pretty clearly the choices that he freely chose to make.
Janelle, thank you very much for the very kind words. I want to send you one of Joe's books. You're so kind. And if just tell Edgar which of Joe's books you'd like, and we will send it to you. I don't know if I'm a good theologian, Joe, but I was arguing this about praying for people in the past with a theologian one time who didn't believe you could pray for anyone in the past. And he goes, "What do you think you can pray for St. Augustine and all of a sudden that's what makes him a saint?" And I said, "Yeah, I did, and it worked." So I don't know if my argument holds up, but I felt really brilliant for coming up with it at the time.
I really enjoy that prayer. I will say this: the one thing we know is true is that because the church has talked about this repeatedly. Pius XI, I believe, talked about this in one of his reflections on the Sacred Heart, where when Jesus is in the garden, the chief suffering that he has is foreseeing all of the sins of humanity. That in taking on the weight of sin, he knows every wrong that'll ever be done, but that the consolation when the angel consoles him are the good deeds of everyone throughout history as well. So you can even now grieve or comfort Jesus in the garden. And I think that's something we should take very seriously.
I'd like to comfort him. I'd like to be helped.
Yes.
I'd prefer to be comforting him. I know I've grieved him enough. I mean, at my age, I can look back on it and go, I know I grieved him enough. I probably shouldn't do that anymore. No, I definitely shouldn't do that anymore. Tell you where we are. I'm sorry for that. An amazing thing just happened. And it's very hard to describe how touching it is and how much it means to the heart when you see what I just saw, which is we told you our situation, and Emily and I are sitting here while Joe's talking, and every single line filled up. And then the overflow calls waiting lines started to fill up. And
Beautiful.
It was, it's very hard to describe the effect that has on you when people are so kind and considerate and thoughtful, and you tell them what you need and they go, "Okay, I will." They step up and do it. So maybe we'll make it. We've got a few minutes left, and there's still 9 calls on. There's 6 people now. The calls have been processed, so there are 6 people ready to take your call. 888-291-8000 is the number to call, or text Catholic to 24365. Give us another testimony. I'm interested to hear.
All right, this person commented, "I've always had Christian beliefs. I just turned 29. I feel very curious about Catholicism, but I just can't square away a lot of things about it. But I can tell you're filled with discernment and the Spirit. I'll keep watching your content." So can you be the reason that this person continues to find truth about the Catholic Church and then come and go home and join us? Can you be that reason? 888-291-8000. I believe in you guys. We have like 10 minutes to keep raising. I think we have still about $15,000 to go. And yeah, your guys' generosity has been wonderful so far.
That wave of calls we just had is still being processed. Yeah. So the news might be really, really good. We might be getting close. I don't know. We're only going to be on the air with you for about 6.5 more minutes, though. And the number is 888-291-8000. We are not there. We've got a long way to go still to reach our goal for this hour, which is $25,000. And as Emily just said, it looks like 16,000 still to raise, but it may be less than that. Let's say it's 10,000 still to raise. Could we do that? Yeah, we could. I mean, I know God has no shortage of money and no shortage of friends. God's got plenty of friends and plenty of money. So I always feel like people can do it. The way it works is you are funding us for the next 3 months so we can continue to do this. Everybody that you hear that calls and gets their question answered for the next 3 months, you did that. Everybody who calls up, and we've been getting more and more of these. I'm in RCIA. I'm in OCIA. I'm about to start RCIA, OCIA. Have you noticed that, Joe? It just seems crazy the last few years. The number of people who are coming into the church.
I've heard so many people who've just commented on this. I mean, obviously anecdotally. So where the calls were maybe once aggressive, you guys are heretics and here's why, religion is bad and dumb and here's why. Now it's much more of a, this isn't what I grew up with, but I'm super interested in what you have to say. And there's a real spiritual curiosity and openness, a curiosity that I think is pointing in a certain direction, that it's really exciting to get to be a part of that.
Gracia from Lebanon just donated $250 plus the fees. So
Beautiful.
That's a good sign.
Gracias.
Yeah, gracias, Gracia from Lebanon. Thanks. That's not what the language they speak over there. Do you know
It's not.
Do you know how to say
It's
thank
not.
you? And what would it be? Arabic, probably, or French? You could try it in French, Joe. Give her a French thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
He doesn't. Merci. I think that's right. Yeah, merci beaucoup. That's
Yeah.
very good. All right. Because they speak a lot of French over there. 13 lines open, heading into the end of the hour. And we'll try to get Joe on another call if we can. 888-318. Excuse me. I beg your pardon. That is not where you give money. I'm going too fast. Where you give money is 888-291-8000. I think one more big push. What do you think,
Yeah,
Emily?
let's do it.
If we
13
could do,
lines open.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Greg from Texas gave us $1,000. William from Tennessee gave us $1,000 plus fees to help process the payment. You guys, this is so wonderful, but we know you guys are listening. You have it in you. 13 lines open. Get my coworkers working. I was working the phones right before this. I was running to the studio because I was still on a call with somebody and I had to be in the studio. So yeah, put them to work. We love talking to you guys and getting to hear a little bit of how you found Catholic Answers and why you support us. So give us a call, 888-291-8000. We'd love to talk to you and get your donation to keep this wonderful show going.
888-291-8000. I'll tell you what, Joe, can you answer a question quickly if I let you, and then you'll
I'd
allow
like
us
to try.
All right, well, because I want to come back and have at least a minute to let people know where we are at the end of the hour, okay? Let's go to Ariana in Indiana, watching on YouTube. Ariana, I've just got to do this before I put you on. The number is 888-291-8000. You can go safe and secure online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com or text the word Catholic to 24365. Ariana, go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you guys so much. Also, Joe, I do have to say I'm a really huge fan of your work, and I do appreciate you for all that you do. My question is, it's just a simple question. Why is the Oriental Orthodox view of church leadership, why is that not something that we accept as Catholics?
So do you mean autocephaly, like the whole notion of local churches headed by the patriarch and that's it?
Yes.
Okay, why is that wrong, Joe?
That's great. Because the church is called to be one. So autocephaly, self-headship, is good, but it doesn't go far enough. That each parish has a pastor, each diocese has a bishop, each broader church has, a patriarch or some other head of the church, but the church writ large should also have an earthly head. That this points to the oneness of the church, that Jesus actually has one body. That when he says, I will build my church, this tells us several things. Number one, that the author of the church is Jesus, our Lord. So we don't have to go and build it ourselves. Number two, there's going to be one church, just as there's one body, just as there's one bride. And so the oneness is signified in the Bishop of Rome, the successor of Peter. We see this role first played biblically by Peter, and then by the bishops of Rome. And you see this very early on testified well before the schism with the Oriental Orthodox. For instance, Irenaeus talks about it being a matter of necessity that every church agree with the Church of Rome on account of its preeminent authority in the year 180. In the same document that tells us Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the four Gospels for the first time, tells us this. So I would point to things like that. I actually point to things like that at a much greater depth in my book, Pope Peter. So I know we don't have time today to get into all the weeds, but I hope you will stick around and get a copy of the book and get a fuller answer from that.
And Joe left me a minute here at the end. First of all, Emily and Joe, thank you both. I really enjoyed the hour with both of you.
Absolutely.
Of course.
It's amazing how people respond to you, Emily. It's not hurtful. I don't want you to think I'm hurt, but it's going to take a while to get over it. Okay, look, 14 lines open, and I'm going to call it $10,000. We're still $10,000 shy. So could we maybe get 4 people who can make a $2,500 donation? Maybe we can get a couple of 5,000.
Yeah, guys, we're about halfway there, and we are living on a prayer.
We are at 88. Okay, let me just tell you where to go. And your money, if $500 or more, any gift $500 or more is going to be tripled right now. You got 20 seconds to make that call, or well, no, a little more, because they'll stay there till the top of the hour, or till the phones stop ringing. Dial 888-291-8000. 8,000. Right now, they're waiting for you. Go safe and secure online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com or text the word Catholic to 24365.